Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining Snowdonia. In the game of Snowdonia, everyone around the table is working together to create the train line from this station all the way to the station at the top of the mountain. In order to create that track, you'll need to excavate. These little cubes are what need to be excavated. So there are things that you can do with the rubble that you're clearing. Once the rubble has been cleared from a card, you could spend these metal bars. They look kind of like train tracks, but you only need one of them for each thing to place a track. And when you place a track, you will place your ownership cube on it. Those ownership cubes are worth the points in the boxes when the game finishes. So the more stuff that you can complete, the better off you will be. The big challenge comes that there's no points for just clearing the rubble on these, but there is points for clearing the rubble on the stations and taking ownership of that, which will be worth 4 points at the end of the game. However, there is a rate at which rubble can be removed. That rate is shown by this tracker here. So it starts the game at 2 pieces of rubble. It can work its way up to 4 or down to 1 depending on the weather, and I'll deal with that later. Which means that if we are on 2 rubble and one of the players elects to remove rubble, they will remove these 2 rubble, leaving only 2 rubble cubes on that particular spot. So another player could swoop in, remove those 2 rubble, and put their player marker there, and thus gaining the points. And this is where the challenge of the game comes in. The timing of when you remove rubble in order to be able to actually claim the most of those spots. The other thing that will need to happen on each station, or that could happen on each station, is that you can build using stone. These are the stone cubes. So once all of the rubble leading up to a station has been removed, as we did earlier, the track doesn't need to be laid yet. You can trade in 4 of your stone to claim 1 section of the station. Noticing that each section of the station has slightly different points on it. And that will happen all the way up to the end of the track. Once the last piece of train line has been laid, that will mark the end of the game. This is a worker placement game. There are 8 different sections that can be selected. Within each section, there are different numbers of available spaces, and those numbers will change depending on how many players are around the table. So you'll notice some of these have a card on them. This card is placed in for a 1 to 2 player game. For a 3 player game, we go with what's on the board. For a 4 to 5 player game, we use what's on the back. And what changes with that is the number of spaces in each area that is available. So let me run through them really quickly. The first space, if you were to select space number 2 of the first, or the A area, you would take the first player marker and thus be able to place your players first from next round on until someone else takes that particular spot. Anyone else taking that, and the player 2 spot as well, gets to grab 3 of the resources. You can only grab a maximum of 1 of these. These are the coal, but you can grab any number of the others. You can grab 3 within any one of those actions and bring them in for yourself. When you select part B, you will remove rubble from the train line. We remove rubble at the rate that is marked over here. As I said before, it can get up to 4 if we've got really nice weather for a while, or it could go down to 1. That tells you how many cubes you can remove. So while there's a rate of 2, I can remove 2 cubes from the leftmost spot of the station. Is on the second half of that excavation spot, they will remove the other 2, and as I said earlier, claim the points for that removal of rubble. Moving up to part C, this is where you can trade in any of the resources that you have or the rubble that you have managed to take remove from the track, excavate from the track, and exchange it. You can exchange for up to 3 items. The items you're exchanging for are stone and track or metal bars. If you select area D, you can build track. You will build track at the rate at which is marked over on this marker, which at the moment is at 1. It can get up to 2. If you are able to, you must lay that much track. So while we're at a level 1, yellow would lay one track, so place that back in the draw pile. Flip over the first track card and then lay an ownership cube on it. The next spot up allows you to build. Now, with building, you can either build on the first station that has been excavated up to. We don't need to have all of the rubble excavated from the station to build on it. And you then have choices. So you trade in the resources, either stone cubes or metal bars. When you trade in those stone cubes, they go back into the bag. And once again, you place your ownership marker on there for points at the end of the game. The other thing you can do while you're in that space is purchase a train. You'll notice there is a lineup of trains at the bottom of the board. The cost of purchasing these trains is listed in the top left corner. So this one, etc. will cost 2 of the metal bars. This train would only cost the 1 metal bar. When you purchase a train, you will take it and the coal cube that's on it. And what that allows you to do, there is a benefit in the top right hand corner. So this particular one will give you 9 points if you still hold this train at the end of the game. And then you can trade in 1 coal for an extra worker. That extra worker lives in the pub. He will only come out and work 1 round for that cube of coal. So it's worthwhile, if you want to have a third worker, get as much coal as you can so you can use him every turn. You can only use that if you have a train, and you can only get a train once the events have got up to this particular event. Events will happen when you grab one of the white cubes out of the bag. I'm not going to worry about what those other events are, except to know that you need to wait till that event happens before you can grab a train, and be aware that when this event happens, if you have a train, you will have to spend a metal bar out of your supply or put the train back. On the F space, this gives you a chance to grab one of these bonus cards. The way these bonus cards work is they have a one-off benefit to you in the middle. So if you, for example, chose to take this one, this particular one-off benefit allows you to use 3 of the iron ore or orange cubes as if it was a metal bar, or a steel bar, should I say, for when you're doing a build action, which was to take one of these spots on the station. Once you've done that, turn the card to the side so you know you've actually used the bonus. The area at the top is an endgame bonus. So if you have managed to remove 12 rubble and still have them in your pile at the end of the game, and you have laid 1 set of track, that'll be worth 22 points. I won't go through the rest of them, but you can get a grasp of what they mean. The text is fairly straightforward, and that little marking there is for how many of the resource areas of the stations you've built. Those cards will rotate through every turn, so any card that's here will only be there for this turn and then will be discarded. These 2 will shoot up, and then the next one will come down. This marking on the back of the cards tells us what is going to happen to the weather. So we know that on the second round, all of this will shift upwards and we're going to have sun. What the sun does is marked here. So we move the track laying up 1 and the excavation up 2. So when it's sunny, we're going to be able to do way more work than when it's cold, and we don't like seeing this guy, because when this guy, which gives us a grey marker, when that grey marker gets to the top, we're not able to excavate or lay track at all. We can use the other spots, but we're not going to be able to use those 2. The last area that we need to deal with is G. So when you select G, you will take your surveyor. Notice that any number of players can select G. What that means is you take your surveyor, which is this happy little fella here, and move him up to the first station. The next time you do that, you will move him to the next station up the line. While that doesn't seem like you're really doing much, there is some importance in that. There is a point value in the top right-hand corner of each station. That point value will be given to you if your surveyor is on that station. The further up the mountain your surveyor goes, the higher that point value gets to. In fact, if he gets to the top of the mountain, it's worth 21 points. So there's quite a number of points that are able to be grabbed by moving your surveyor up the mountain. So don't forget about that. I think that is everything that needs to be gamesplained on Snowdonia. There are some other little finicky rules that come with just changing out. And look, I suggest going on and watching the playthrough video to, you'll pick them up pretty quickly as I do the playthrough. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you wish to be gamesplaned, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to see what games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.